Hey, welcome to the sixth round, hosted by me, Zane Simon. Tonight, Kid Nate is off plying his trade somewhere else. He's decided to go terrorize children with tales about how great Pride was, an old school UFC lecturing to the uneducated masses tonight. So I'm joined by Michael. I'm just gonna go with Mike. The Stets something. I don't know. Stets.
Just Stets. No one needs to know my full Polish name. That's why I keep it Stets.
Okay. The I'm going with the Joanna Jędrzejczyk of MMA journalism over from MMA Mania here to co-host with me tonight and bring us through this card and recap UFC Fight Night Saskatoon, Holloway versus Oliveira. First thoughts, what did you think of the card? It ended on a total bummer, but was that your takeaway or, what else do you got?
Yeah, I thought the main card was fun. I thought it had some exciting fights, some good action, and it was definitely an anticlimactic finish. Bummer to see that. Everyone was excited about this fight. The number 5, the number 7 featherweights colliding, 5 rounds, and we didn't even get a full first round. So it's a bummer to see Oliveira go out like that. Hopefully he's okay, but I think everyone can understand we've seen things like this before, so you can't get too crazy about something like that happens. You just kind of let your disappointment fall off and hope the guy's all right.
Yeah, do you think the UFC should scrap the Frankie Edgar Jeremy Stevens fight, which frankly doesn't make a lot of sense, and book Holloway Edgar in its place?
I don't know. I guess depending on how long Oliveira's out, maybe they hook those two up again. But yeah, Holloway versus Edgar obviously makes a lot of sense. That's something that we can all kind of definitely be into for sure. So I would have no issue with that. I could see them doing a rematch, but who knows how long Oliveira's out. Obviously, the UFC likes to keep things moving forward. So Holloway Edgar would be fine by me, man.
Yeah, and Holloway seems like he's got that Donald Cerrone mojo going where he's not the kind of guy that wants to wait on the sidelines for an opponent to get healthy and get back in the cage. He seems like the guy who'd fight every weekend if he could.
Yeah, I agree with you. 7 wins in a row, no matter how they come by. Not an easy thing to do in MMA, let alone the UFC. And he's done it. Okay, fine, the guy got injured, but still, 6. If you want to say that, that's still remarkable. So
Yeah.
7 wins in a row. Holloway's coming to his own. This is a guy that's moving up really quick in the division. I don't know if he'll jump up from number 5, but who knows with the rankings these days. But he's definitely ready for a top tier fight soon. So Edgar would be a nice test to see how good he truly is.
Yeah, absolutely. So, co-main event, Neil Magny, Eric Silva. First of all, great bounce back for Magny as far as I could see. But really, like, I think probably the worst loss of Eric Silva's career. I mean, I don't think even when he lost to John Fitch, he's never looked as bad as he looked in the cage tonight.
Yeah, Silva, he's kind of always been more highly touted as opposed to his level of actual talent, if that makes sense. You know, like he does have talent and he is a good fighter, but I think the hype surrounding him was way too high at times. And Magny is a guy that's come on and come on strong. And again, 2 weeks notice taking this fight. And Silva has his moments, but he looks like he tires out late. He looks like he's a kind of when things are going his way, fights better, and when he has to dig deep, he doesn't seem to have it, and that was the case tonight. Magny went in there and took care of business. What a win for him! I mean,
Yeah.
2 week notice, a good opponent, and he gets it done, and gets it done in convincing fashion too. So great win by Magny. Silva, I mean, he is what he is, man. I don't see the guy even sneaking in the top 10 really, unless he pulls some crazy upset win down the line. I just don't see it from him. But what a great win for Magny, who continues to do good things.
Yeah, I think what the thing is like against Matt Brown and Dong Young Kim and John Fitch and those other losses he's had, like it was always clear he's got the athletic base to be a top tier fighter, but not a lot of the skills. But here, this fight, like he just didn't athletically, he didn't look like he was a cut above anyone anymore. You know, it was kind of like even when he had flashes of brilliance, they were shorter than ever before. He wasn't transitioning on the ground lightning quick like he was. He wasn't out hustling Magny even early. It was just, I don't know. It was a weird performance from Silva. It kind of makes me wonder if, I mean, he's a guy who's been around for 10 years. So even if you're not the kind of person who's going to get embroiled in like conspiracy about pharmaceuticals and all that kind of thing, it makes me wonder if we're kind of seeing the end of his fall off. He got a lot of push because people thought, oh, he's this young prospect. He looks so young. But he came into the UFC as a fully formed fighter, and he's had, we're now seeing what should be at the end of his career. So this could be kind of the start of a slide for him.
Yeah, I mean, in his top 2 wins came over Mike Biggie Rhodes, and I'm looking here at Josh Koscheck. I mean, Fitch
probably
took it to
Jason
him.
High is his best win.
Charlie Brenneman defeated him. Defeated Charlie Brenneman, but lost to Fitch. Like you said, beat High. Dong Young Kim. Matt Brown beat him. His big wins haven't really come off any of the top guys in the division. So, again, I think he's just going to be one of those placeholder guys that they'll throw on cards because he can be exciting and he has some good things going for him. Obviously, decorated on the ground. But you see him do things in the stand-up, and you shake your head. That silly spinning back fist early was really off balance, and Magny took advantage of that. Had some nice body lock. He gets that good body lock grip and gets the trip takedowns, things like that he's good at. But striking-wise, Magny was just slapping him up with that jab, moving in and out. His footwork was good, and at the end it was like Silva huffing and puffing and chasing down Magny, who looked like he could have won another 2 rounds, and the guy was on 2 weeks' notice. So, I mean, this is one of those things where I just think it is what it is with Silva. And Magny seems to be just scratching the surface as to what his ceiling still, I think, is still quite a bit higher.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised to see. I mean, Magny losing to Maia, it was a setback loss, but it's not like Magny's ever been known as this great, amazing grappler. And that seems like a hole he could continue to patch up. And as he does, I still think he has a shot at getting up into the top 5, maybe, just given enough time and his complete willingness to fight all the time too. The UFC loves guys like that. They're always willing to push a guy who's there to fight every week.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah. So let's go down to the bottom of the card here. Quick run up, just because none of the other main card fights are so important that they're worth covering over anything else. Misha Cirkunov, Daniel Jolly. The UFC's finally, it seems like they're trying to get some decent light heavyweight prospects out there. Cirkunov looked really legit in a fight where he honestly kind of had to look legit. Jolly's not better than the guys Cirkunov's beat before. So, any thoughts on that?
Yeah, he looked good, and it's good to see some Russian talent in the UFC. Bellator's been hogging them all, and Nurmagomedov's brother is in WSOF, so it's nice to see some Russian talent trickle in. Hopefully, this guy can put on some more good fights so we can see what he's all about.
Yeah, he's got a great judo and wrestling background to go with his no-gi grappling, so I'm looking forward to him. And then the Shane Campbell, Elias Silverio wasn't actually a very meaningful fight. Campbell got a win. Silverio, I'm kind of surprised he lost that fight. It's not a good look for him, but it is what it is. Chris Beal, Chris Calades, that's kind of the same. Solid win for Calades, but Beal, man, he's just, for a guy a lot of people had high hopes of, he's continuing to not meet them.
Yeah, do you think the flyweight division is just it's stocking up, sort of like on numbers, but not necessarily future contenders? You think that's the case?
I don't know if it's maybe a bit of that. I think they're definitely trying to fill it out, but I also think it's one of those divisions where you have to be you have to be really fast and able to fight for 15 minutes really hard. Everybody in that division who's going anywhere can do that. And Beal's a pretty good athlete, but the cut seems to drain him too much, and he cannot fight 15 minutes.
Yeah, because he won his first fight, and now it's 2 losses in a row for him?
Well, he won his first fight at bantamweight, so he won 2 fights. Oh, yeah, you're right. He won his first fight against Matsuda actually, no, I think that was at bantamweight, yeah. He won a fight against Williams at bantamweight and then against Matsuda at bantamweight, and then he dropped and fought Siri at flyweight. and Colades, and that was just not. He's just not. He doesn't have the gas tank for it. He doesn't have the gas tank to keep up with somebody who can keep wrestling and keep grinding him when he gets tired.
Yeah, it's going to be a tough uphill climb for him, and I mean, God, Demetrius Johnson's just so good. It's like you want to see guys that you think might be a contender for him, but it just outside of Benavidez and Dotson, even Cejudo, I'm still not really sold on him. I just don't see it, man. I mean, it's a really tough division to be highly, highly competitive and be on the top level of.
On an ideal world, Cejudo would get a couple years, but I think they're at a point right now with that division where Johnson's beaten everyone so routinely that they're just going to throw anyone who gets halfway close to him. They're kind of at that woman's bantamweight stage where it's just like, you ready? Go, get up there. You got 2 wins. You can do it.
Yeah, I mean, you stole it right out of my mouth. I was just going to say, who's more? It's like Rousey or Johnson just getting thrown whoever.
Yeah, I mean, Chris Carriasso is not a better title challenger than Betch Correia, No.
Not at all.
Not at all. So let's see. Then we got more light heavyweight talent. Nikita Krylov, Nicky Thrills, getting it done against Marcos Rogerio de Lima. And, man, Krylov is a mess, but he's such a fun mess. Yeah,
he's fun to watch, man. And he's one of those guys that, like, doesn't disappoint when he fights. So it was fun to see him get the W tonight for sure.
Yeah, I'm a little sad because De Lima seems like one of those guys who's a really good athlete, really has like some power and some ability, but just, is still kind of the same guy he was maybe 3 or 4 years ago back in Strikeforce when he was a young guy coming up and everybody thought he'd make waves.
Yeah, and Krylov was like, he was getting dogged for when he got stuck in that Von Flue choke, right, against OSP, and now he's rattled off 3 straight, so... Again, I think, like what I said earlier, he's one of those guys that's going to be kind of similar to Silva in his division. He's going to get put in there to fill some space and be entertaining and things like that. But is he going to crack into the upper echelon or even the bottom of the top 10? No. But it'll be fun.
Yeah, it'll be fun. And it's light heavyweight, so he could be top 10. I mean, Fabio Maldonado is practically top 10.
That's true. I shouldn't speak so carelessly about the 205 division. You and me might be able to make a run into the 15.
That's right. I'm going to start eating my way to 205 right now.
Me too.
All right. Then we got, and this is a pretty similar, I'm almost want to just pair these fights together. Felipe Arantes, Yves Jabouin, Frankie Perez, Sam Stout. Couple of old vets taking on a couple of the young guys rising up, and in fights that on paper you could even say they should win. They're more experienced, they're better in all these different ways, and just not getting close.
Yeah, Arantes looked sick, man. He was really slick on the ground. I'd like to see more of him, man. That transition to the armbar, unrelenting. Jabin tried to escape, and then he went belly down to finish it off. It's just beautiful, high-level technique from Arantes, man. That was fun to see. I don't know what the bonuses are yet, but I would imagine he'd probably be a front runner for a performance
He's
bonus.
the only sub there were 2 subs. That's right. Krylov got the other one, but Arantes definitely deserves a bonus for submission over Krylov there. So, I hope Arantes gets a bonus off that.
Yeah, it would be nice. It would be nice. Again, you love to see that kind of slick technique and guys that know how to seal the deal when they latch onto something. And he seems to be a guy like that. So I'm looking forward to seeing his next action.
Yep. And then Frankie Perez, you're not going to see him next. His hands look better than ever. He dropped Sam Stout, knocked him cold, and then hung him up. And honestly, I'm happy for the guy. I think any fighter that can walk away from this sport early should.
Now, how old is Perez? He's still in his 20s, isn't he?
He's 26.
Yeah.
He's only been fighting as a pro since 2011. So 4 years in, 26 years old, just got his first UFC win, calling it done.
Now he must have some other. What does he have? Another career? He's a smart dude. Like he's got something's going on that he can walk away.
He's a smart enough guy to think that getting punched in the head for money for the rest of his life isn't the best career option. That's all I got to think. I mean,
Yeah,
I think MMA is awesome and I love it, but there aren't a lot of guys making big bank, and you hear far more about the Chris Liebens out there who retire and are like, I'm broke and I'm going to jail now.
yeah, where you're like Cole Conrad from Bellator, who had what do they have, like a commodities trading background or something. Like usually guys got another branch like that to swing to.
Yeah, I mean, even you look at Brian Stan, and dude looks 41, but he's like 34, retired like 8 years into his pro career, and now he's got a job as in the commentary booth.
Yeah, not only that, he's one of the best commentators. Period.
Yeah,
I mean, talk about a smooth transition. He's killing it, man.
Yeah, and that there's value to walking away early. I don't know what Perez has got going on other than MMA, but if he's comfortable getting out, I would much rather see a guy get out really early than a guy get out really late.
Nah, I agree with you. It's surprising to hear, but if he's got his health intact and he has no desire to do it anymore, then good on him. He goes out on a high note, goes out under his own control. Yeah. Which a lot of guys, like you just mentioned, don't. They stay around too long. They don't know anything else, and they get sucked in. So the guy going to leave relatively healthy, be able to play with his kids at a late age. So good on him. What about Stout though, Zane? What do you think we should see him again? What's up with him?
I don't want to watch him fight anymore. I'm not going to tell him to retire because, unfortunately, I mean that's the other side of it for me. Is that you never know what a guy's life is like. You never know what his financial situation is, what else he's got going for him in life. This may really just be it, but I don't want to watch him do it anymore,
It's you feel bad for him. I mean, in Canada, you want to see that guy get a W, and he gets crushed like that. So that was tough to see.
And it's his third straight knockout too, where guys have just cracked him cold and dropped him like a sack of potatoes.
Yeah, I'm trying to look back on that. What was that really scary one where he got knocked out? Was it
Pearson and Nunes both killed him. I think Pearson probably especially was the one, because that one was like Nunes just came right out and knocked him out immediately. But Pearson, he was like competitive for a little bit, and then he just got the lights shut out. So I mean, it's too bad because Stout's only 31, but he's been fighting since 2003.
That's a lot of head trauma.
Yeah, that is a lot, especially in the UFC. So it's all high level fights. He's always training in big camps with other top level pros, getting beat up, doing going hard rounds in the gym and in fights. So
and the one I was thinking of was Eve Edwards, but he was on the right side of that one.
Yeah.
So
okay, I thought you were talking about his recent losses, but no, yeah, he did knock Edwards out.
So yeah, he's kind of been killer be killed lately. It's I'm sure he's going to fight again. But maybe Dana will have that proverbial conversation he likes to mention when he talks about guys that are on their way out, and convince him to hang it up, maybe. But I think we'll see him one more time, probably on a Canadian card.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if it's not a huge name guy that gets a lot of publicity and had was a title contender or champion. A lot of the time, it just seems like the UFC is willing to give guys fights as long as they want them. Let's see. Next up, Valerie Letourneau, Marina Morose. I don't know. It was an impressive. I'm impressed that Letourneau won. I thought Morose was going to win. I picked her, but Letourneau also just does not seem like she can make 115 comfortably. She was pretty gassed by the time the second round was in swing.
Yeah, Letourneau. I mean, when I looked up reading up stuff before this card on the fighters, and I looked back and saw that she had fought at 135, I was like, whoa. I mean, that's like, because obviously, women have a lot harder time cutting mass amounts of weight than men do, and to see that she made 115, I was like, man, I wonder what the effects are. And you mentioned it, and yeah, I mean that's got to be like excruciatingly tough on her. And but she looked great, man. Her striking looked outstanding. And Morose, who had that great upset win over Calderwood when she in her debut, so she could strike with the best of them too. But Letourneau looked great tonight.
Yeah, Letourneau's a lot sharper, a lot more consistent in her game. She doesn't pull guard, do some of that crazy stuff Morose does. And because she's on the bigger side of 115, she really cracks. I mean, that's what she's showing. She hasn't showed that kind of power before, but her recent move, I think, to ATT, they said, seems like it's really sharpening up her game a lot, getting her power transfer down. I just hope that she can figure out her weight cut good enough to actually, maintain that kind of pace for 5 or for 3 rounds or even 5 rounds if she starts getting into, the bigger fights in the women's division if she wants to try to make any kind of chase to a title shot.
Yeah, because Morose hit a few combinations and looked really sharp and aggressive early, and then Letourneau just hit that one right hand and sat her down. Boom. So yeah, she could certainly crack. It's going to be interesting to see. And I think the 115 division is way more entertaining than the bantamweight division. And I don't just say that because Rousey is at the top and everyone's trying to get to her. Like I think bantamweight would be competitive if Rousey was out of it. That would be a fun division. But when you look at 115, man, all these girls good. The two we were just talking about with Morose and Letourneau. Then you look at Calderwood, who never has a boring fight. You look at the champion. You look at Goldalia, who could strike in this, and that rematch is going to be bananas. I mean, that's a super super exciting division now. It's one of my favorites to watch.
Yeah, well, I think one of the big differences you see is that at 135, all the women are seen kind of play like they all, other than Rousey, have kind of these shades of the men's game that are just kind of less complete. You see somebody like Jessica Ai, who she's got this sprawl and brawl game, but it's really not a very good sprawl and brawl game. She's not, her hands aren't that great. They're not that sharp. She's not that great at staying off her back. But at 115, you're starting to see much more of like what a woman's game looks like apart from men. There's a lot more really twisty grappling, a lot more engaging striking, a lot more combination boxing and kickboxing. They're just doing a lot more things that are technical and competitive in a way that you're not constantly going like, well, yeah, but the men do that better.
Hey, young Jacek is one of the best strikers in all of the period. I mean, the stuff she does, really interesting and cool techniques. Those open hand palm strikes to open up the guard of her opponent and then throw straights through. I mean, she's got some really cool techniques, man. And I can't wait for that rematch, which is it's announced for 194, 95? Which one was it announced for?
I think it's 194. It's whatever the Rousey card is.
Oh, so 195. 195. But I mean, she's tremendous.
It's a lot of fun. Yeah, no, and Jacek is a prime example. She's got a striking game that is absolutely on par with anyone in the UFC.
Yeah.
So it's a fun division to watch, and this is, I mean, fights like this, Letourneau Morose may not be a meaningful fight, but it was still an interesting, like, competitive, scrappy bout that went everywhere, and it was fun.
Yeah, no, I agreed. It went fun, and like you said, Morose does some unpredictable stuff. Like she had Letourneau rocked and then tried to jump into a flying armbar and then ended up on the bottom. So she's going to keep it interesting and exciting, and she's going to probably give away positions about as much as she gets them, but still going to be entertaining and fun to watch her for sure.
Absolutely. Then we had Olivier Aubin-Mercier, Tony Sims. Not maybe the most fun fight in the world, but Mercier went out there and got a really strong win over a guy that I think, couldn't afford to just play around with and stand and trade with.
Yeah, no. He kind of had a very old school, like John Fitch-esque approach to his fight, just jumping in on that single, and especially I think the third round, I mean, just committing to it no matter what. Stood on it. Was eating punches, didn't matter, was going to get the fight to the ground no matter what. And I mean, I didn't look at the strike total yet, but I mean, he didn't throw a lot of strikes. I mean, he got position, got the back, takes the back, has a really nice transition, body triangle, highly effective, hunting the rear naked choke, just completely controlled the whole fight for the entire 15 minutes.
Yeah, it's I think it's smart because Sims, as he showed in his debut against oh God, what's his name? Creepy Weasel. Just have to go with that. His nickname's Creepy Weasel, but he showed he's got some power. He's got the kind of power that if you stand in front of him and you try to play around with your striking, he will drop some really hard shots on you. And Aubin Mercier, he's still trying to develop that. So I think it's smart of him to just say, you know what, I need to get past this guy because he's not somebody anybody knows. He's not going to be a name win for me if I win this fight. This is just a win I got to get.
Yeah, no, I agree. He had to get it done, got it done. It's his third win in a row. And there's a guy who's, what's he, 26, 27?
It might be even younger than that. He's 26, yeah.
26, so he's still moving up the ladder there. So it'll be interesting to see how he progresses and who they give him next.
And then on the flip side, the other Tough Nations lightweight finalists, or was that welterweight? I don't even remember now. Whatever, it's Tough Nations. Nobody cares about that. Chad Laprise. Chad Laprise fought Francisco Trinaldo, and man, somebody give Trinaldo a little more money in his bank account, because not only does he deserve a birthday party, but training at better camps, getting better training is obviously really up in his game.
Hey, I always look, I'm turning 39 in September, so I always love when I see a guy in his mid to late 30s get a W over a young guy. It gives me great joy to see stuff like that. But Trinaldo, man, what a great job. Looked outstanding, and took it to him, man. It was great to see him get the win. And the guy, turns 37 tomorrow, so he gives himself an early birthday present. So pretty cool story.
Yeah, it's fantastic. And I mean, the thing with Laprise too, I think, is he's got that really high output striking game, technical but not a lot of power, kind of Bisping-esque. And when you're playing that game, especially at the lower weight divisions, where guys are just a lot more athletic and a lot more bullish, you really have to be kind of perfect all the time, because somebody like Trinaldo is willing to just walk through you to land a big shot. They are going to hurt you a lot. And Bisping struggled with that too over and over. I mean, when guys like Vitor Belfort and Dan Henderson are willing to just walk through his output and land a punch, that's always been kind of Bisping's kryptonite.
Yeah, no, I agree. Again, the guy, he's had some, and I think he's had I think he was had a kickboxing background in Brazil too when he was younger too. So
Yep.
he comes from a high striking pedigree, and there's something to be said for guys that not so much they lose a little bit of their chin as they get older from experience, but the savviness of a striker that's been in there with high level guys his whole career, even before MMA. They know how to get the ins and outs and how to roll with punches, and they have a little bit more of an advantage over guys, especially a guy like Laprise. And I think that's what you saw was evidenced in the fight tonight.
Yeah. Then finally, our third bout on the main card, Patrick Cote. Well, our third bout down. I don't know. Whatever. Next bout, Patrick Cote. Last one we had to talk about, Josh Burkman. And I thought Burkman's UFC run would be a lot better than it was, frankly.
Yeah, it's so weird because I never want to accuse a guy of not putting their max effort or not trying. I don't want to be at risk at saying that, but it really looks like Burkman's kind of mailing it in. He just appears so cavalier in moments of the fight, especially this second UFC stint. I mean, am I wrong in saying that? He just seems like he's just so laid back, almost to a flaw. It's so weird.
Well, partly I think he just thinks he's a better striker than he is from the outside. He's a pretty decent brawler when he sits down in the pocket, but at range he seems to think that A, he can't be hit, and B, that he's got a really deep technical arsenal to draw on, when usually he just ends up flailing for some spinning attack or getting pot-shotted really hard.
Yeah, because he'll get into like rock'em sock'em robot exchanges, but he started off with like those side kicks and just kind of winging them out there, and even in his fight against, I think, was it Lombard, where he was doing like spinning stuff and just stuff that he's not really known for. It just kind of makes you scratch your head. He does have power, and a lot of it at that, and he can be interesting, but some really interesting not interesting. Some, I mean, some like questionable, dubious kind of decisions that he makes during the fight, especially for a guy that's been around as long as he has. It's like he's kind of taking these unnecessary risks, and Cote could scrap with the best of them, and man, he cleaned his clock tonight, and that was Burkman's first ever career loss by TKO or KO.
Yeah, I mean, and that's, on the flip side too, that's Cote's first knockout since 2012 in Amazon Forest Combat, and I believe it's only his third knockout in the UFC ever. His
Wow.
last one being Drew McFedry's back in 2008. So for as much as Cote has fought in the UFC and is good at, generally decent at kickboxing, and generally has decent power, he's really not known as a knockout artist. He doesn't usually have high enough output or land enough of the big shots to get a guy out of there. So it was a weird fight for that to be Burkman's first knockout loss.
Yeah,
Did not see that coming at all.
And it was a fun fight because the momentum shifted. I mean, Burkman came out aggressive in the third round and knew he had to put it on him, try to gain control of the fight, had him in trouble against the fence, wailing away. And Cote weathers the storm, and then soon after drops him with a right hand and finishes the fight. So the third round was a crazy round. So that was definitely probably, I think, the most fun fight to watch for me tonight. I don't know about you, but that was definitely a fun and competitive and amusing fight for sure.
Yeah, it was. It was definitely. I think you're right. I think it was the most interesting. Other than that, it'd just be like I think Trinaldo Laprise, but that was over so quick. So, on that note, do you have any final thoughts about the main event? I'm still a little. I'm just kind of sad I missed it. That's how I feel. I feel like the fight happened and I didn't get to see it.
Yeah, I mean, it was one of those fights that I was interested in seeing. I think, me personally, I think people got a little too crazy. I remember when the fight was announced, people were like all over Twitter, like sick, and I'm like, all right, pump the brakes. It's Holloway Oliveira. It's not.
You're saying you called the injury from way out. You're like, no, this is how it's gonna be. He's gonna get hurt, and you're all gonna be disappointed, right?
No, I won't go that far. But I was interested in the fight. I wasn't like, oh my god, Holloway Oliveira. Maybe it's me. Maybe I'm just a little too cynical nowadays. But with all the fights and stuff, but it was definitely a fight I was interested in seeing for sure. I wasn't like chomping at the bit to see it. But it would be nice to see these guys go at it again, and hopefully Oliveira recovers and isn't. He got carried. I think he was on a gurney with a neck collar and stuff. So pretty scary stuff. Hopefully just preventative.
Yeah.
Maybe it was a neck stinger. Maybe it was like a pinched nerve, or who knows? I'm not a doctor, so who knows? We're all just speculating. But Holloway, I still think. Is the real deal, and Holloway versus Edgar is music to my ears.
Yeah, that would be great. Hopefully the UFC can find a way to book that. The Edgar Jeremy Stevens fight just seems like a stay busy fight for Frankie Edgar, so I'd much rather see them do something else with that. And on that note, oh, sorry.
I said I agree with you 100%.
Oh, yeah. Cool. On that note, it's time to close the show before we keep talking all night. You can find me on Twitter at TheZaneSimon. Your Twitter?
It's at Michael_Stets.
All right. You can find me over at Bloody Elbow. You can find Stets over at MMA Mania. And, make sure to tune in for Knuckle Up, Vivisection, Care Don't Care, Prospectus, all our normal run of videos. We don't have an event next week. So, probably Knuckle Up, and we'll probably shoot some other videos and make you watch them because that's just what we do. We're video heavy people, but enjoy another weekend of freedom. Kiss your wife, take your kids out, play outside, do whatever you got to do to maintain that thin veneer of normalcy. And we'll see you next time. Thanks, man.
Yeah.